I don't know about you, Simon. I tuned into Newcastle last night, and I was watching some of that. Didn't see Arsenal. Saw the highlights this morning. By God, they gave a good old thrashing to Atletico Madrid, 4-0. I mean, I'll ask you straight: is there something brewing in North London? Something special brewing in North London?
Well, it's something that's been gestating for a period of time, and we've been waiting for it to arrive in some level of success rather than we're getting better, we're getting closer. So with the squad that he's assembled and with the backing that he's been given, Arsenal are doing what they should be doing, which is winning football matches, being extremely potent in games, and having a bench now that can change up and change down. They've got resources left, right and centre. They've got an embarrassment of riches. They've got players that aren't even featuring, that aren't fit, like Jesus and Havertz and Madueke that's injured, that are going to come back into the squad. This is a good squad. This is a squad built to win something.
There you go.
And it has to win something this season, don't you think, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the most impressive thing about Arsenal that I'm watching,
They don't concede, Dan.
but their attitude without the ball is phenomenal. There's no egos. They don't carry anyone.
Yeah.
And it starts from the front always. Gyökeres, brilliant without the ball. The wide boys work tremendously hard. Everyone's at it. As soon as they lose the ball as a mindset, bam, back in shape, we're going to get it back.
Yeah.
Honestly, they look powerful. They look relentless at the minute. We know football, it can change quite quickly, so I wouldn't get too carried away. But, yeah, your eyes don't lie. What we're seeing at the moment, they've leaped into the position of favourites.
Absolutely. Top of the table in the Premier League, just 3 goals conceded. 3 wins from 3 in the Champions League. No goals conceded. And then, as Danny mentioned, they've got this fellow, Gyökeres, whatever you think of him. He puts the ball in the back of the net, and he did it in a scruffy old fashion last night. No goals in his previous 7 before last night, but 2 scruffy ones to end that duck. And Gyökeres says, and Arteta says on Gyökeres, we're having him.
All of us, because he makes us a much better team. I think we become much more unpredictable. He's so physical, he opens the spaces for everybody. The way he presses the ball, holds the ball, it's just phenomenal. And then, the ice on the cake. And the biggest thing that we're going to debate about him is goals. He says that he scored 2 very different ones today, and hopefully he starts to get some momentum and a good run of goals.
Danny, no other way to ask you than this. What is Victor Gyökeres?
He's a very good centre-forward who knows how to play the role. Very physical, very unselfish, bit old school, if you like.
He's a bit like Diego Costa in your book.
That's not a bad comparison. Yeah, not bad at all. I think he's one of those players that if you speak to centre-halves, they'll say after a game, that was tough. Because he doesn't stop running in behind. He'll fight you. His touch is decent. He's not as aesthetically pleasing as others in terms of his skill or link up, if little one touches round the corner and things like that. It's not really his game. But I think Arteta nailed it. He said that he makes them a better team than they were previously, and I thoroughly agree with that statement.
Is he an elite striker? Does he need to be in this team?
Well, they needed someone, yeah. And he fits the bill quite nicely because he's got that wonderful attitude that you want from a striker to work for the team. I don't think his ego, he's not going to be overly concerned that he doesn't score every game as long as the team's winning. But when you make a signing, what you're trying to do is improve the 11 at a top club, and he's done that because he's a more orthodox forward than Havertz. Havertz has got talent and he's a clever footballer, but Gyökeres is much more intimidating, much more a focal point for them.
When you look at the squad, Danny, has Arteta built a flawless squad?
It's better than they've ever had before.
Where's the weakness?
I think
there you go, Dan. There you go.
Yeah, there's not many. I still think Rice is a huge player for them. I think if you took him out, they've not got anybody like him.
Are they creative enough in the middle of the park? Do they have that clever ball in them that can unlock defences that are just concentrating on stopping Arsenal having any space? Who's got that clever ball in them?
Eza.
Like
you saw for the equaliser against Man City.
Yeah.
Odegaard when he's fit.
But do they need this clever ball when they're so good defensively?
You do need a mixture, yeah. You do.
Yeah.
But they've got it.
So, I mean, it's happy birthday Arsene Wenger. 76 today. Danny, if Arteta ends a 22-year wait for the Premier League or he delivers the club's first ever Champions League trophy, where will Arteta sit alongside Arsenal's greatest manager? On a par with Wenger, or he might eclipse him?
No, I think you need I think Wenger won so much and created such a legacy there. Although Arteta would be lauded, and rightly so, he'd need to do it more than once, I think, to be talked about in the same breath. But it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter whether he's behind him, in front of him, or level with him. They won't care. Arsenal fans are just craving being at the top.
There is a similar feel to Klopp. What Klopp did at Liverpool,
there is a long,
30-year wait.
I mean, when Wenger came in '96 and won the Premier League in '98, it wasn't 1976 as Arsenal won the league, had it? There wasn't a 22-year gap, was there? In this instance, there'll be such a long gap between Arsenal winning the Premier League that it affords Arteta the opportunity to be considered in the conversation with a revolutionary like Arsene Wenger. Because Arsene Wenger not only changed Arsenal's fortunes from a side that were competing and had won things under George Graham, but were always seemingly in the shadow of Manchester United, into the side that changed the way footballers think about football, the way that footballers are treated, the professionalism of football clubs, the disciplines behind it, and the culture. And that was all a massive sea change from it wasn't just the only way, because you still had a different culture. And Man United had a different culture. You know, Ferguson was still dealing with the English mentality of a few people going out with a few beers and not looking after themselves, and they still dominated English football.
Right.
So whilst Wenger changed the perspective and did it a different way, it wasn't just the only way that was successful. So I think Wenger had a revolution attached to him, but Arteta has done, I think, lots of good things at Arsenal. He's turned what was a stadium that was sort of ambivalent at times and almost empathetic into a fully engaged stadium now, with fans really at it and across it, so much so that Arsenal fans become even more irritated than they were before. And now, I mean, every time I get in a cab is a bloody Arsenal fan crowing about what they're going to do this season.
The other thing is the discipline, Simon, is the things like the Aubameyang situation.
Yes.
At the time,
he was supported in that, wasn't he?
He was supported, but he took it by
the horns.
And that they were risks.
Yeah.
I think what he's built is...
He had to do that. And I think Aubameyang was a gift for him, because Aubameyang was so destructive.
There was still some discontent around it when it happened.
Inside the dressing room?
No, from the fans, because there was a lot of love for him, and the fact that they didn't really have a ready-made to go. He just said, doesn't matter, we'll crack on without you.
Yeah. Danny, you're Liverpool through and through. When you look at Arsenal, are you worried?
Well, I think from my position in the job I do, you always want to see competitive league, and you don't want. Last year wasn't really. Second half of the season was done, wasn't it?
Wear your Liverpool hat for me.
Well, yeah, you've got to be. I mean, this is a hell of an impressive side that look really determined to get over the line, but you can't really, as a football club or a group of players or supporters, get too involved worrying about everyone else. You know, you watch your own team, you want to get that in order. You want to. Liverpool need to improve, don't they?
Are you more worried about Arsenal than you are about Liverpool? Because Liverpool in the last two games, I mean, Slot has turned around and said things that I find slightly irksome, which is the fact that he doesn't like teams kind of setting up with low blocks, as if people should set up the way he wants them to, so he can get the best outcome. Yeah, and then he rewrote history in the Palace game by saying that Liverpool were competitive in this game. Liverpool could have been 5-0 down.
The comments about the Palace game on a couple of occasions I've heard, he's obviously just got a selective memory.
Yeah.
Which can happen with managers. The thing that's been jumped on regarding him bringing up long balls and low blocks with United, he didn't say he didn't like it or he was angry at it.
He's saying how United have become that team now.
Yeah, but he was saying we should know what's come. We've got to do better than that. You know, he's not. Yeah. He didn't say it as a.
But he used it as a weapon against Burnley, as if Burnley should set up in such a way that would enable Liverpool to win.
Well, I think you can interpret it as him using it as a weapon, or you can interpret it as him as just stating the facts of what's happened. Arsenal,
are they onto something? Are they virtually flawless? And is there something special brewing in North London? It would appear there is. There is Webbo, John Webster. Good morning to you, John. You're a Manchester United fan. Jim, you've asked the question, where is Arsenal's weakness? I'm going to be honest here. I can't see any. I've said at the start of the season, this Arsenal team will win the league. I don't think they'll win the Champions League, but the Premier League is theirs. I can't remember the last time I've seen a defence this strong. Is that a fair point, Danny? Even this early, we're in mid-October now, almost through October.
Well, it's more the fact that they're not reliant now on one particular player defensively. They've got so much backup. You know, even if you look at Lewis Skelly's performance last night coming in for Calafiori, you'd argue they enhanced them. You got Timber and Ben White at right back. You got 4 centre halves now. I still think Rice is a massive player for them. I know they brought in Norgard from Brentford, who is a good player, actually. I like him a lot. But Rice has got that physical athleticism. And he's so good on the press.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they wouldn't win games without him, but I still think he's the one. For now, he's become, for me, their main.
Let's hear from the Arsenal fan. Incidentally, there's Jimmy Pitts. Good morning to you, Jimmy. Jim, please, stop it. Stop it with the Arsenal nonsense. They are serial chokers, and this season will be no different.
Well, it could happen that way.
Jimmy.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, City are flying.
Yeah.
Liverpool will improve.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. Just a case of how long when he finds that settled team and rhythm. But yeah, there's always a chance they might not.
No.
And then the question arises, does someone else need to come in? But
you're getting a bit like Simon with your predictions, incidentally.
What do you mean?
You said Liverpool would beat United on Sunday.
Well, I think most people did.
Just saying.
And if they could finish their chances, they would have done comfortably.
Keith, good morning to you. Big Arsenal fan. What do you think? Is something special going on here?
Well, I have to say that I think it's a fantastic team and squad. But I'm not like a Spurs fan that, they win 2 games and after the second game of the season is celebrating the league. We're only 8 games in. Let's talk about this after 38 games and see where we end up. I never like to celebrate before the actual end of the season. That's the first thing. But if there is a weakness, I think it's up front. If Gyökeres gets injured, and make no mistake, he's playing every game. If he gets injured, if you look at our bench last night, there was nothing on the bench. No one you could bring up top to replace him. When City won the league a few years ago, I remember when Haaland came off, they had the chap who was playing for Atletico last night, I forget his name for the moment, Alvarez, a World Cup winner to bring up front. We've got no cover up front. Havertz, when he gets fit, is not even a striker. Jesus has been a waste of space for me. And then my other concern is also we need to score more goals from open play. I think we are a little bit too reliant on dead ball situations, which is great. Gabriel is an absolute colossus. I mean, the whole Ballon d'Or situation is a bit of a joke. I mean, this guy's got to be one of the most important players for any club currently.
On your bench last night, you've got Trossard, you've got Marino, who can do a variety of jobs, can he not?
Oh, come on.
I kind of take your point, though, looking at it. No, you're onto something there, Keith. But Keith,
the only thing I'd say is Havertz won't be that far away from getting back. And although Havertz ain't an out-and-out striker, the year he played most and he did pretty well in that position. But I take his point. There's no team in the world that has 2 perfect players for each position. You can have similar types, but you can't have. It's just not possible.
Keith, before you leave us, top of the table in the Premier League. Almost through October, 3 goals conceded. 3 wins from 3 in the Champions League. No goals conceded. It's all right, isn't it? You're loving this, surely.
Absolutely loving it. And I've got to say, if you don't concede goals, if you don't lose games, okay, that's the first. George Graham always used to say, and I always liked him as a manager tactically. He said, obviously, you build from the back, and Arteta's done that. Great defences do win your leagues, but we have to do more up front. I think we need another striker to buy probably in January, maybe in the summer. I think that's where we're lacking, and I want to see more goals from open play. Yeah. But apart from that, I think, I was discussing it with my son last night. He said, which player do you like? I said, I like them all.
Well, that's it. And it's not often Atletico Madrid, Keith, concede 4. Here's Matthew, big Arsenal fan. Is there something special brewing, Matthew? What do you think?
Yeah, I do believe so. But I'm on the side of caution. Reason being is that I've tried to be pragmatic and look at every game that we played so far. And in every game we've played, even last night with that Raya error, we've given up a big error. Now, the bigger teams, last season we weren't giving up those errors and we had a good record against them. But this season, the bigger teams have capitalized on that. So if you look at the Gabriel error in the City game, that caused the goal. If you look at the Mosquero missed kick in the Newcastle game that led to the corner that led to the goal. If you look at the Zubimendi unnecessary foul that led to the free kick in the Liverpool game. So we do give up big chances. I think what's happened now is that we are in a position where we have more composure. We definitely finish games stronger than we did last season. And we have a bench that we can turn to and look at and say, we can depend on the guys coming in not to drop levels.
Right. So, Matthew, before you leave us, and you seem fairly thorough in your look at what you've got.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Tell me straight. Do you win the Premier League? Do you win the Champions League? Do you win both?
I think in a cup competition, as Spurs have proven, you have a chance of winning even if you're not in good form. I would love to win the Champions League because you never won it before. But the yardstick is really the Premier League. And we've had so many chances being second that we deserve to do something better this season.
Okay, Matthew, great call. Thank you. I'm going to squeeze David in just before we hit the break. David, good morning. What's going on at your club?
So, I mean, it's just amazing right now. I mean, I've been through Arsenal 40 years now, but I just want to mention a very small 3 points and then the main point. The first point that a lot of people seem to forget is this is Arteta's first managerial job. So what he's done is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I've been a bit disappointed and argumentative about a few things, but that's amazing.
Yeah.
The other thing is, in terms of winning stuff, he doesn't have to win something. As long as we keep improving, doing well, competing, for me, for the next couple of years, that's the main thing.
He doesn't have to win something.
No, he doesn't.
Incidentally, are you finishing a yogurt at the moment? No, but he doesn't have to win something. Is that what seriously, David?
As long as we're competing, that's the main thing. But the main thing I really wanted to say was really, in terms of like the weakness, and it is very controversial, I speak to about my friends, I think David Raya is not as good as Ramsdale still. I think he's got loads of mistakes are going to happen. He doesn't clear the ball out very well. If you watch a lot of the games, he punches it out a couple of feet in front of him, and luckily we've got such good defence that sweep it up and get rid of it. The amount of times he's been caught off the line is unbelievable. I think he just looks good because of the defence, and I think David Raya is just going to cause some big mistakes at some point, unfortunately.
I think he's in a minority. Most people think they're much better because of David Raya. He's a terrific goalkeeper, but I actually agree with him on not having to win something. If you get 98 points and lose the league on the last day of the season and lose the Champions League final in extra time through a bad refereeing decision, what do you do? Get rid of the manager? Be ridiculous. I don't think he has to win some, but he'd have to be damn unlucky and be competitive right to the end in both competitions to be forgiven.
Do you think they'll win one of the two?
Yeah, I do know.
Which one?
The league.
The Premier League.
I think PSG, if they've got everyone fit, they're on a different level.
Manchester City. They go to Villarreal and they win by 2-0. Erling Haaland, almost inevitably, and Bernardo Silva got the 2 first-half goals. But when you look at Haaland, what have Manchester City got in this guy? 24 goals in 14 games for club and country. 12 consecutive games in a row that he has found the back of the net. And this is incredible. He's still only 25. He's now in the top 10 Champions League scorers of all time, with 53 goals in 51 matches. Before last night, Danny, it's amazing. Before last night, Pep was asked if City are maybe too reliant on Erling.
Score 4 and 5, at the end. That's our key man, so what can I say? At the same time, we cannot rely on, we want to do good things, so just with Erling, And I don't have any doubts, when it will be a luck, that players will score. Omar is the top scorer, and I know Sabio one moment would happen, and Oscar as well, and TG and Phil. They are really good scoring goals. You cannot deny how good is Phil in that position, and Tijani as well. And when Rico should play in that position, is a guy always arrive in the final third really, really good. So we have to. You have Erling, it's fine, but we'll be stronger. You have to feel, okay, I will help the team to be strong.
The guy is a phenomenon, Simon. Erling Haaland. I mean, to be in the Champions League, the top 10 scorers of all time with 53 and 51.
Yeah.
And being the age he is, but it's quite remarkable what he's doing. Here's the thing, though. They want momentum, as every top team does. But are they one injury away with Erling from hitting a blip in the road?
I don't know. I mean, Haaland is a product of a new generation of strikers. You listened to Alan Shearer talking the other day, quite rightly saying that top strikers were benchmarked by 1 in 2, and now they're not. And look at the goal score. I mean, look at Harry Kane's record. Look at Robert Lewandowski's record. And obviously, you bring Messi and Ronaldo into the equation, but as centre forwards we're talking about, there are remarkable achievements now. But they're playing for remarkable sides. And the fact that he's been playing in a Manchester City side for 3 or 4 seasons that has been so, up until last year, so dominant, isn't a surprise that he was able to put himself in a situation where he scored so many goals. He's a remarkable talent. I mean, I saw him on Saturday, and I was listening to some of the analysis from Mika Richards, which I didn't quite understand. I didn't think his run was so wonderful. The ball that put him in for the second goal was the wonderful thing about how he created that opportunity. But he also misses chances. But he's a remarkable player and score. And what I've seen from him this season is a seemingly different outlook, a more mature approach to leadership. and he seemed to be being pushed forward. You know, they have these, which I don't ever understand, these leadership groups that people have got to be part of. But he seems to be being pushed forward by the Manchester City hierarchy, and by that I mean Pep and his colleagues, to be more of a leader. And of course, last year we heard a lot of things being said, and some of it was a bit over the top about what level of footballer he was besides scoring goals. His game contribution was very limited. I think Roy Keane talked about him last year, saying that he's got the sort of the rest of his game is a League One level rather than just putting the ball in the back of the net. The hardest thing in a football is putting the ball in the back of the net, and if that's all he does, that'll do for most people.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, City are a side that allow players to be good in it, but he is taking it to a new level.
His all-round game at the minute is the best it's ever been.
Yeah, that was my point.
He looks physically brilliant, fit as a fiddle, which allows him to do more work defensively for the team. He looks more powerful than ever. He's a phenomenal talent. And yes, people like Kane, Lewandowski got great numbers, but not numbers like this. Nowhere near in percentage. Right? I mean, he hasn't just done it at City either. His goals to games, you know, like are equal.
At Dortmund, yeah.
And before.
And also, in fairness, playing for his country.
Yeah. Every team he plays for, his record doesn't change. It's just ridiculous. I mean, he's posting numbers that only two players have ever posted, like Messi and Ronaldo. I mean, he's got a way to go there, but this is special stuff.
Yeah.
And
are they morphing into a one-man team?
Well, I think there's a fair argument to say they'd be less effective.
Would they be up it without a paddle, though, if they didn't have him in the team?
No, because they've got so much quality. Mamouche will come back. He's a super talent, Mamouche. Really good player. Cherky will be back. They've got other players who can score. And I still think they'd be in the top four. But I don't think they can win the league without... If Haaland's out for a few months... Because when you watch City play, even though they've been on a good run recently, they're still giving up a lot of chances. It's a bit like Liverpool.
I mean, Harry Kane's got 74 goals in 70 games for Bayern Munich.
For Bayern, yeah. But look at his Tottenham record.
Yeah, but Tottenham, with due respect...
Well, Dortmund, you would put Dortmund and Tottenham on a similar level,
would you?
Wouldn't you? Yeah.
Would you? And would you put the Bundesliga on the same level as the Czech Premier League?
No, but you can only go on the numbers based on the teams you played for.
Sure.
You know?
Sure.
And so I'm not saying Kane's not a wonderful player. Of course he is.
Okay.
But he's still not hit not quite the numbers that Haaland's done it at every team he's been at.
Right. What more can you say?
Yeah.
Jack in Manchester, why are City not in the conversation to win the league? They had...
well, they are.
We all hope they don't.
An off-season last season, they finished third. Off the back of winning 4 in a row, which has never been done before, and the season before the treble. He's got a point, hasn't he?
Yeah.
We haven't...
You can't write them off.
No.
But what I would say, and we're talking 8 games in, the reality is if you watch all the games, most weekends, like most of us do, the teams pushing Arsenal are nowhere near as good defensively as Arsenal. City and Liverpool are giving up chances. You know, even Everton had chances at City at the weekend. I say even Everton, don't mean that disrespectfully, but what I'm talking about, every team that plays City.
Right.
And Liverpool are giving up chances.
There's a mean-spiritedness to some extent, which is understandable because City have dominated.
Yeah.
And people don't want them to dominate.
No.
So people are quite glad that they're not dominating, so they're quite happily discounting them from the equation because they've had a good bloody run.
I think that's a good point, actually. I think when you don't want something to happen, you don't talk about it.
Yeah, but Jack's got a point. Because of what they've achieved before, you would think they would be in the conversation more now.
Well, I think if Haaland stays fit like he is now, they're in it. Because he's changing games on his own.
Yeah.
And nobody can cope with him. Nobody.
Right.
Even the Arsenal, he scored at Arsenal, didn't he? You know, nobody can cope with him. He just outrun them. His physical presence was too much.
How do we measure success for Newcastle in Europe? I mean, to beat Benfica, yeah, it's not bad. To beat them by 3-0 is pretty darn good, is it not, Danny?
It was a good result, yeah. I mean, they rode the luck a little bit in the first half, didn't they? Keeper Pope made a couple of great saves. But yeah, it's a great win for them after losing their last European home game.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a lot to be, excited about for Newcastle fans. Signings, they haven't seen Wissy yet, but they've made brought two good forwards in for one. The squad's been bolstered up generally. They're not as depleted in certain areas of the pitch than they've been in years gone by. I think it could be a really good season. They've got to they ended up losing at the weekend after playing quite well. They've got to try and get a bit more consistency in the Premier League. But yeah, overall,
yeah, You've given me a puzzled look.
Well, no,
not for the first time in your life.
I'm looking at Benfica and saying, okay, the name of Benfica resonates with people, doesn't it? Because of Eusebio, because of previous achievements, and because we've got.
Yeah, but they should beat them as well.
They should beat them, but they got beat by Karabakh at home. So the fact that Newcastle have done a job on them is what Newcastle should do. And we're sort of saying, well, is this a great moment because they've beaten Benfica? Well, Benfica aren't a powerhouse. They might be a big name.
Sure.
But the team isn't a powerhouse.
Yeah. What Newcastle did, though, was record back-to-back wins in the Champions League for the first time since 2003. And that in itself, says Eddie, is progress.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy game. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, Benfica, as you say, huge European experience. They've got a manager that's been there and done everything in the game. So we knew today was a difficult game. And especially off the back of Saturday's result for us, that ramped the pressure on us, really. And we had to handle that. And that's why the win and the way that we won, really pleasing. And hopefully we can take that into our next few games, because we're going to need to back it up. One game in isolation in the Champions League means nothing. Now it's all about the next few games.
So, Danny, for club and country, is this going to be the springboard season for Anthony Gordon?
Could be. Yeah. I mean, there's never been a doubt in his talent. I've always liked him from the minute I saw him at Everton, mainly because of his work ethic and his bravery. He's always willing to get on the ball and try and make things happen. Not so keen on the diving around a lot, but anyway. He looks really fit. He looks hungry. I've not seen him play yet this season and where he's not involved. He's always trying to impact the game.
Yeah.
He's lightning quick. He can beat people. He should score more goals. But yes, is the answer to the question. This could be a huge season for him. If he stays at this level, I've seen him the last month or so for England and Newcastle, he could cement a place in the England side. He could, really have a good season and take himself to the next level. Because ultimately, whether you play wide as a 10 or a 9, false 9, you're judged on goals and assists.
Yeah.
It don't matter what else you do. And he's got to get those numbers up.
Before the ball was kicked this season, it was thought by someone in the studio, amongst others, that this was going to be a special season for Liverpool, because the signing of Florian Wirtz was one thing, but the signing of Alexander Isak was totally another. And all of a sudden, it was who could possibly stop Liverpool? This is Liverpool, who are going through it a bit at the moment. A fourth successive loss means that this is now Liverpool's worst run since November 2014, when Brendan Rodgers was manager. Danny, what has happened? Can you put your finger in it? Because it appears you spend a fortune, you bring in some of Europe's elite, and you've got worse than you were before.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say a lot of the new signings haven't coped very well. That's fair. I think a lot of the top players from last season who are still there aren't at the same level they were last season, which isn't a good mix. I think you could argue that physically in the first few weeks, especially this season, even though they were winning games, they looked a little bit off it. Now, some of them, 4 or 5, didn't get a full pre-season, which all footballers would tell you how important it is in terms of your rhythm, match sharpness and things like that. So I think it's an accumulation of things rather than one specific
But you
thing.
never saw this coming.
No, I don't think any Liverpool fan did. I think the biggest thing is their loss of control and composure in games that they were so good at last year.
But Danny, you said they didn't get a pre-season. When it all kicked off, they won 5 from 5.
Yeah, but not convincingly. A lot of last-minute winners. When you think of McAllister didn't have a pre-season, Isak didn't, Akatike came halfway. He's been actually the best one of the new boys. Bradley was out injured, and there's another 1 or 2 I'm missing as well. So
why is it going wrong now? We're almost through October.
Well, you could argue the last 3 Premier League games, they've gone to win all of them and got done by doing that, especially Chelsea and Man United. Palace, they should have lost, actually. The Palace were really good. But the Chelsea and United games, they went for it and they got done. But the United game in isolation didn't concern me in terms of performance. That was the best one out of all the losses because of the amount of chances they made. They made a hatful of chances to win 2 or 3 games. So that game in isolation is that can happen. The biggest difference I see at the moment, and the problem Liverpool have, is without the ball. I was lauding Arsenal before because of their collective mentality when they don't have the ball. And Liverpool were very much like that last season. Very good defensively, well organised, great control in games. they've lost that. They've lost that stability and that togetherness when they haven't got the ball. That's what they've got to get back to.
Do you think Arne Slot knows what his best team is?
Yeah, I think he probably does deep down. Yeah, he doesn't look like he does because he's continually changing players, but he's doing that because the levels of fitness and some of the form of the newer players.
Is Verts in it?
Oh, yeah.
Does his best team include Salah as well in time?
In his head it will, yeah, of course. I think
Where are you on the Carragher observation that Salah is beginning not to merit a starting lineup position?
Well, he didn't quite say he didn't merit. He's saying
It shouldn't be an automatic choice.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think
Same
he should be. He shouldn't have to start every game. No, I agree with that. I don't think
Shouldn't have to. I mean, that's a different thing from should be able to.
Well, he shouldn't.
He's out of form, isn't he?
For years,
He doesn't work hard for the team.
For years, it didn't matter what he did. He's going to start.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be the case now.
So he's no longer an automatic starter?
No, he shouldn't be. Nobody should be. I don't think any player should be. I've never had that feeling. If he's not playing well...
Declan Rice.
Declan?
Well, he deserves...
Alan? They're out there.
Well, yeah, because they're playing so well, you can't leave him out. Like I just said, Salah for years, you can't leave him out. But nobody should have... What are you going to do? Write that in someone's contract? You can never be dropped.
No, but that's semantics. We're talking about Salah's performances now rather than his automatic right to be in the side. Is Salah in decline? And Carragher's talking about the fact, and I think he's right to some extent what Jamie said. There's times when and I know I'm going to probably open myself up to all kinds of abuse. There are times when Salah does look like a very average footballer, but his outcomes and his performances over the years, in terms of his statistics, are so compelling that you can't really make the argument because people pile in on you. He doesn't work hard for the side. He's not in particular form. So, is it something you think is going to manifest itself? Do you think, given the fact you said that he knows his best side and Salah's in that, do you think you're going to find a situation where, in order to get Liverpool going again and adjusting to the personnel,
I think he'll leave him out.
Salah's got to be dropped out
I
of
think
the
he'll
side.
leave him out tonight.
Right.
Yeah, because what it does, first and foremost, it could give him a kick up the backside.
You think he'll leave him out tonight?
I've got a feeling he will, yeah.
A kick up the backside to what end? Is that going to suddenly make Mo Salah track back and help his fullback out?
Well, let's just deal with the tracking back thing. His lack of defensive effort has always been there because he's been given
but
a
the balance
license.
inside has changed now.
Well, it's not the balance. It's the fact that he's not banging in loads of goals the other end to forgive him for that. So when he scores 2 and Liverpool win 3-1, but he still doesn't track back.
You think that's it? You think that ultimately Liverpool we'd still be having this conversation about Salah being, because we've seen the analysis and we've seen people zeroing in on Salah now, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they're looking at what he doesn't do rather than what
because
he
he's not doing the other stuff.
And you think if he was doing that, people would be ignoring what he doesn't do. But Liverpool would still be conceding goals as a result of that.
But he's only doing exactly what he did last season.
The problem is it's not just Salah though, Danny.
No,
and majority of friends will love this. We're not seeing Alexander Isak, the Alexander Isak we saw playing for Newcastle. Far from it.
Well, no, you're not. Because you won't for a little while either.
Why?
Well, as I explained before, if you miss a whole pre-season, you're playing catch-up. And the only way you get...
He's used to the Premier League.
What a lovely world it is, isn't it?
He hasn't just arrived on the scene. And we're almost through October.
Whether you agree with it or not isn't the point here. Because he come for a lot of money, he's earning a lot of money. It takes... The only way you get game fitness and sharpness is by playing the game. So when you're playing those games to get back up to level, you're not going to look like your normal self.
Gyökeres didn't have a pre-season either.
Yeah, and he didn't score for 7 games, did he, till last night? He's not hit the heights he did in his last season.
He scored 2 in his first 3.
Well, 2 goals, yeah. I mean, it's hardly groundbreaking, is it?
The fact of the matter is they're backfired in a way that no one expected them to.
What's backfired?
Liverpool, they're nowhere near.
What, the
£400 million spend?
The 4 points off the top
has not shown.
They're 4 points off the top of the league, and it's a catastrophe.
They were 5 points clear just weeks ago.
Yeah, I know, because they've lost 3 games on the spin. That's the way the Premier League goes.
It's not.
But also, let's get into this. Is it not a bit small fry to be knocking at your opponent's tactics? Slot has faced quite a bit of criticism for alluding to United's low block and long ball approach when they played them. This was Martin O'Neill's reaction to what Slot said.
Just at this moment, and it's continued for 4 consecutive losses, too many players at this minute for Liverpool have not reached the heights of last season. McAllister being another one. But so it's a blip. That's all it is, really. They've lost the games. They could easily have maybe they could have scored a few goals yesterday in the game. What I'm a bit disappointed with is that, well, more than a bit, is that some of the comments that Slot, who has proved himself an excellent manager, coming out and saying that, very difficult to play against a low block and teams that play long balls. It kind of reminds me at times of Arsene Wenger way back when I was against him. Every time that a team got a result against Arsenal, it was always because they played very defensively and they played the very, very, very long ball.
Is that a bit small fry?
Well,
Slott's part, I mean.
We talked about it earlier. In an ideal world, I don't think you'd want to mention what the other team do. Just talk about your own team. But I think the interview after the United game, Slot didn't come out and go, United were wrong, or it's not Manchester United way, the way they play. What he said, we couldn't win the ball back high up because they didn't pass out from the back. They played a lot of long balls, so and for us to make that many chances against a team who play a lot of long balls and had a low block, he'd have taken it before. He'd have said, if you'd have told me we'd have that many chances against a team with a low block and plays a lot of long balls, what's wrong with that? He's not actually saying, he didn't once say, that's not how you play football. Shouldn't be allowed. He even talked about it when they went up to Newcastle. When they went up to Newcastle were brilliant with 10 men and should have got some out of the game. Liverpool.
But if Slot and Liverpool had won the game, he wouldn't be mentioning it. We're in the excuses category here, aren't we? We're in that territory.
I understand why people say that, yeah.
Yeah.
If you keep mentioning
we don't have the chance to hear from Slot pre-match tonight.
Yeah, they had a plane
because
tonight,
they had to cancel the pre-match press conference. Liverpool get stuck in the team gets stuck in Liverpool because of technical issues with their aircraft. So we will not know. Maybe it'll be put to him before they kick a ball tonight.
I think it's fair to say if you keep mentioning what the team's tactics are and it's gonna translate as excuses. Yeah, I hear you, but I think in isolation of that interview he did after the game, it didn't come across to me. He was simply talking about how the game went and why he was pleased with the amount of chances he made against a team that plays that way.
I mean, we're not in the excuses territory, are we? I mean, there's Abbey in Glasgow. Typical Danny, I'm afraid, making excuses for Liverpool. Facts are facts. They're well off the pace.
They are off the pace. I didn't say they weren't, but if we're talking now in isolation about that interview, if people go back and listen to it, I don't think, you'd have to prove me wrong. I don't think you will. I don't think he was saying, that's wrong. That's not the way to play football. That's not Man United. He wasn't saying that.
Number one tonight. You don't think Salah played?
That was
your interpretation.
No, come on. That was the underlying influence.
You've been in here too long.
No.
You've been in here too long.
I listened to it and I thought to myself, because I like Slot, I think he's done a really good job. I thought what he said after the Palace game was absolute drivel about their participation in that game. But I've heard him twice say this now, and it was an inference of look at what Man United have become.
You mean a little dig?
Yeah, look what Man United have become.
He did the same against Burnley.
Burnley, I just thought was they won the game, so he got away with it. But the Burnley observation was, if you've got this amazing football squad, break down the team that you're playing against. Correct. That's your job.
I agree with
Don't tell us how they're playing, because it's not their job to make it easy for you. It's the lot. If Burnley made it easier for Liverpool, they'd have got beat 6. Exactly. Wonderful. That would be great for Burnley.
But I agree with you.
So he should do it. He should accept. He accepted all the plaudits last year. People, really, really giving him the praise that he absolutely deserved. Yeah. Coming in and eclipsing Klopp and doing it instantaneously. He did it with Klopp's players though, and now he's got a group of players that he's had to shuffle his pack a little bit. And now we're going to see Slot having to do something different from what he did last year. And I don't want to denigrate his achievements, because winning the Premier League is a remarkable achievement. But he is now also having to rebuild certain aspects of this team for various reasons. Some because players have left, some because of tragedies, and some because he's bought new players that he thinks is going to take it to the next level.
Jürgen has been speaking on the Diary of a CEO podcast with Stephen Bartlett on a variety of things. Actually, let's get to this first, because I remember when Klopp said, well, we just don't have the finances to compete with the big spenders like Manchester City. That has changed, and he was asked, what did he make of Liverpool's massive summer spend?
I had no clue that this is possible. Nobody ever told me that it's possible that we can spend like that. My last year at Liverpool, so we obviously, so the Adidas deal, the new stadium, all these kind of things, yeah, they earn more money, but it was never ever I could have asked for the amount of money. But that's not a problem. That time, it was not there, no problem at all, really not. And I love the fact that we were as successful as we were and built new stands and build a training ground, because we talk now about a transfer window in the way you want to talk about it, spend a lot of money, but there's no discussion about the stands and no discussion about the training ground.
Simon, Danny, I mean, deep down, do you think Klopp thinks, God damn it, what I would have done with that money that they gave to Slot?
I don't think so. No, because he had such success and was held in such high regard. He probably wouldn't change anything. Maybe the odd final he lost, Champions League or something like that. But overall, what he did was nothing short. It makes it more remarkable, his success, because he was going against a powerhouse that he wasn't able to compete with financially, but he did from a football perspective. So it actually gives him more kudos in that respect. So no, I don't think so. I don't think he thinks too hard about it.
I mean, there's more to my mind, there's more pressure on Slot now, Simon, to do something with the money that Klopp would have craved.
Yeah, I mean, they're all under pressure when you manage Liverpool, irrespective of whether you spend a lot of money or you don't.
True.
I mean, he spent 400 million over 3 transfer windows, and we are obviously going to compartmentalise it into one transfer window. But the fact of the matter is, there's a net spend which is quite low. Some of that spend was forced upon him, one of them through tragedy and other circumstances. Yes, he's under pressure. I mean, I go to your question. I don't think so. I think Klopp has created a legacy for himself at Liverpool. He left Arne Slot an embarrassment of riches. Arne Slot certainly got a better hand than the one that was initially dealt to Jürgen Klopp by Brendan Rodgers. And Klopp reinvigorated Liverpool, reignited them. And the fans will say we never left the scene, but ultimately the fans' engagement and the way that he immersed himself in the culture of Liverpool and the heritage of this football club re-energised it to a level that Arne Slot has got the benefit a lot of.
Yeah.
And the expectation of Liverpool, obviously having won a Premier League title under him that hadn't been won for previously for the 20-odd years previous that the Premier League had existed.
Yeah.
I think Klopp is a remarkable football manager and also a very interesting man that can talk about other things than just football. Hence the reason why he's on a podcast with Stephen Bartlett, called Diary of a CEO.
Well, that's right. Actually, they get into what you could term as a sliding doors moment. And this certainly was one, because Bartlett drew Klopp out on the approach he had back in 2013 from Manchester United.
I spoke to them. So in the year when Sir Alex retired, they spoke to me. Yeah, of course they were interested at one point. So I would have been interested. I was I had a sensational team at Dortmund. My God. So they probably thought, what is he doing there? There are some reasons what the people in that conversation told me, which I didn't like.
Oh, really?
So United was that big. We get all the players we want. We are like, we can this, we get him. And I was sitting there. So it was not my project. It didn't feel like it was the wrong time, but on top of that, it was not my project.
What would you?
I didn't want to bring back, I don't know, Pogba. Paul is a sensational player. My God, but these things don't work usually. But these kind of things, or Cristiano, my God, we all know that he's the best player, or together with Messi, the best player in the world. So, but bringing him back never helps. In that time, in 2013, it was obviously not about Cristiano, maybe about Paul. I'm not even sure when we don't get the numbers together. But it was just the idea is we bring the best players together and then let's go.
It wasn't about the football.
No, not at all. And I sat there and it was like, nah, I am not sure. That's not for me. So, and then the pure football project comes up with Liverpool.
Wow. So he didn't fancy it, Danny, because he didn't want to hear Pogba coming back, Cristiano coming back, because it wasn't this pure project that he was seeking. And that wasn't the one at that time at United.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like he's probably saying he wasn't going to have his say enough in terms of you're just going to be given all the best players, right, and then make it. And that's not how he wanted, right, what he wanted at the time.
What does that tell us about Klopp?
Well, it tells you about how he was as a man at that time and what he wanted his next project to be. And everything's about timing, isn't it? Whether you're a player, whether you're a manager, or anything in life, it's timing. And the Liverpool project at the time was perfect for him because it was something he needed to grow. and something he needed to build, which is what he wanted. He didn't want the ready-made. He didn't want all the stars and all the...
Yeah.
You know, you think of the players Liverpool signed under him and all the gems they found and how he moulded them into what he wanted. That's exactly how it worked for him. It's what he wanted. And it takes a unique character, I suppose, not to want it all handed to you on a plate.
Why are you looking so
Well,
confused by this?
I find myself interrogating that observation. I don't know who you'd have had the conversation with. Maybe it would have been Ed Woodward, because at that end of that summer, they employed David Moyes, and they didn't sign any of those players.
No, they signed Fellaini.
They signed Fellaini and Juan Mata and spent 75 million quid. So I think there's a little bit of artistic license going on here.
No, he did say, yeah, you're right, because he did say he can't remember the timings about when Pogba and Ronaldo come back, because I think that was a bit later.
Yes, but Ronaldo came back 8 years later, and Pogba came back 3.5 years later.
Yeah, but I think
they didn't sign any of these so-called superstars that was ultimately going to pollute the idea. I mean, surely if you're the manager of Dortmund, by the way, I'm not sure how you'd be talking to Man United. Did Dortmund give you permission? But I'm sure they did. Right? But anyway, going past that, into the territory of what you were being told, it's interesting how that story finds its way now into the desires. I mean, I don't know, has he done a book, Klopp, and written about it previously? But I would have thought that Klopp would have said, and it would have been manna to heaven to Ed Woodward, who was a bean counter, right? Let's have it right. His job was to make Man United economically more sustainable. Don't need any of those players. Don't want any of that. I can bring you success without you spending any money. And Ed Woodward would have gone, oh, no, I'm Penfold from accounts. I want you to spend as much money as you possibly can. I have to say, I'm going to take some of that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, that's probably fair. But you know, as you get, you talk about stuff that's gone on years before, and maybe it's embellished.
But it's an interesting revelation. I mean, ultimately, I thought, like the Witchfinder General, I thought Alex Ferguson was the manager finder general, and that he had anointed David Moyes, and David Moyes was always going to be the person that they took into play. And obviously now we find out of left field that Jürgen Klopp was there, because it makes the story even more wonderful for Liverpool, doesn't it? That he turned Manchester United down because he didn't like that project.
Well, I don't think he'd lie about that.
No, and
embellish might be embroider,
but it is
exaggerate.
No, he said he spoke to them.
Nonetheless,
you
Simon,
wouldn't make that up.
But if you spoke to somebody about a job, I mean, first and foremost, he was a Borussia Dortmund manager. So why would you be speaking to somebody about a job in 2012 when you're under contract with someone else, unless Dortmund gave him permission, which I'm assuming.
Well, I think what he did at Dortmund, if my memory serves me correctly, is that he said that was going to be his last season, and he managed them and then left. Said he was going.
Could have been a casual conversation.
Well, 2013, he had 2 more years there, didn't he?
Over a croissant somewhere.